Hi guys, Dr. DiNezza here with another cause of IBS. So I already talked about two of my favorites, gluten and dairy. Next, let's talk about a biggie that probably a lot of you are in the Google sphere blogging about and looking up. Anyway, let's talk about SIBO. Now, FYI, I have a whole other YouTube series dedicated entirely to SIBO mistakes and why it keeps coming back. But this is going to be the beginner video. So if you're getting your feet wet, you want to know what the heck is the SIBO thing that everybody is talking about, let's dive into it. SIBO, S-I-B-O, stands for Small Intestinal Bacterial Overgrowth. And it's basically bugs having a party in all the wrong places. Now, you might chuckle at this, but keep in mind, I'm not a professional YouTuber. I just have a clinic, and I thought this would be important to show you. This is your guts, more or less. So bear with me on the low tech version of the tutorial here. So what you got is mouth all the way down to rectum. The green here highlighted is your large intestine, aka the colon. And the orange in this case is all the squiggly stuff in the middle. That's the small intestines. Under normal conditions, you shouldn't have a ton of bacteria and stuff hanging out in the small intestines. The small intestines, their game is to absorb nutrients and to interact with a select handful of microbes and your immune system. And that's kind of it. It's really the absorption of nutrients. That's what its main job is for. The colon, on the other hand, the large intestine in green, its job is to be bug central. It is like a frat house for bugs. All your bugs jam out in there. When the stuff that we can't digest makes it that far down the tube, aka FODMAPs and fiber and stuff like that, it gets to bug central, and that's where your gut bugs have a party and they ferment to digest these different FODMAPs and fibers. That's okay if it's happening in the large intestine. That's what it's meant to do. It's meant to be kind of the leftover stuff that they get to have a party with after we're done digesting the stuff that we want. The problem with SIBO is that these gut bugs that should be hanging out in the colon can start to creep up into the wrong house. So they start to creep up into the small intestine where they don't belong. And the thing about it is the small intestine was never built to be the bug frat house. It's like following this analogy that I'm just going to run with now. If you have a frat house with like thousands of frat guys in it, and then you have like a normal neighborhood house that was built and designed to house one family, and that's it. Like if you put a bunch of those frat guys into that normal house, they're going to destroy the house and it's going to be total chaos, and like the neighbors are going to hate them. It's going to ruin the neighborhood. It's probably going to be bad news. Kind of same idea with this. So when the bugs are in the colon, all is good with the world. They're in their house, they're doing what they're supposed to do, happy schmappy. They can ferment and digest things all they want from now till doomsday, and it's not going to make a difference. It's going to do good things for your health, actually, and it's going to be a great thing. When your bugs are in the small intestine and they're in this different environment, what happens is those bugs, when they get to eat the fiber and the FODMAPs and they digest them, they make gas and they make fatty acids that irritate the gut lining, and it can actually slow down or speed up motility. So what happens is if your motility and your movement of your intestines slows down, you get constipated. If it speeds way up, you get diarrhea. And depending on the type of SIBO you have, it could be one or the other, or you can actually have a mixture, but it largely depends on the kind of gas that they make. Here's the thing. This is a really common thing for IBS. Some people, like Pimentel, I think, has estimated that it's there in about 80% of the cases. I've seen other numbers quote more like 60 or 70%. But let's just say bare minimum, 50% odds minimum. If you have IBS, you probably have SIBO. That's the long and short of it. What you need to know going forward, though, and I'll probably do other videos for this too, the testing for SIBO sucks. It just sucks. We don't have a lot of options right now. We have the aspirate, So where they do like an endoscopy and they go in one end and they measure stuff, invasive, not many people want to do it. They do that in research articles mostly. It's not clinically useful from my perspective. Instead, we have breath tests where you drink a bunch of sugar, you feed the bugs, make them all happy, and then you breathe into tubes and you measure the gases that these bugs produce, and then that can be diagnostic for SIBO. Those tests stink. They only catch like 30 or 35%, and that's including lactulose, which is a little bit better than glucose, but not by much. So I don't really do a lot of testing for SIBO in my office anymore, considering like I see a lot of SIBO. I don't test for it much. I just say, hey, I think this is what you have. I can give you the data on why I'm saying that these tests suck. Let's just treat and assume that that's it. Because I would hate for somebody to get a negative test result and then assume that they don't have SIBO when in fact they do. Anyway, let's see. Other things. I'm making this up on the fly. I have no script. Important parts about SIBO. It's out there. It's common. I told you what it is. Oh, let's talk about the Low Fodmap diet for just a minute, and then I'm going to wrap up the video. The Low Fodmap diet is really commonly prescribed for IBS, and it works a lot for IBS. I personally don't like that diet. It requires you to cut out a lot of healthy foods, aka fruits and vegetables, and that's just not healthy. Like, it doesn't make sense. What it does is it's starving off the bugs in the small intestine. So for people who go low FODMAP and they feel better and they think like, oh, this is a good diet for me, I usually tell them, no, it's not a good diet. But B, you just self-diagnosed yourself with SIBO. Congratulations. Because like I said, if your bugs are hanging out in the colon where they belong, you can ferment and digest all the FODMAPs in the entire universe, and it's not going to matter because the bugs are in their house. It's cool. It's not a big deal. If they're in the wrong place, then eating FODMAPs and eating fiber is going to destroy you. So if you have noticed that FODMAPs upset your stomach and trigger your IBS, or going on the low FODMAP diet has been really beneficial for you, there you go. You have SIBO. Whether or not the tests show it, you have SIBO. So keep that in mind. You can check out my SIBO mistakes videos. I've got a bunch of them now, and hopefully that'll help you on your healing journey. Just know that you'll have to be your own advocate. I don't think a lot of doctors know much about SIBO, but God, it's so common. Like I said, bare minimum 50% of the time in IBS, probably somewhere between 60 and 80% of the time. And we don't really have a ton of good ways to measure it right now. But hopefully you found this video helpful. I'm going to do other videos down the road. And have a great rest of your day.